Good morning, everybody. Before we welcome the people who are here for the first time, and I think I see some, it's the first rain. So, yay, so we need to welcome the rain. So when I face you, you do what I do, and have your awareness in the storm we create, okay? Yay! Good for us. Good for us. Now, here's where you are. We welcome our first-time guests. So if you are here for the first time and would like to put your hand up in the air, that's all we ask. We won't ask you to tell where you're from or what your name is. But we have a present for you, which is some description about our community. And we would love to warmly, warmly welcome you and hope that you feel that you have come home. So our community right here is about awakening personal transformation. And actually, that's what the whole topic is this whole month. And we do that through teaching tools for positive change. And I love what's already happened today because the tools for positive change have to do with inclusion and healing separation, and so we're right on track. The vision for our whole denomination for this whole year is this: a world that works for everyone. So I want us to really think that if we hold this as a possibility, that we can co-create a world that works for all people and all animals, and then we go in and think all children and all elderly, we can create that. A world that works for everybody in any economic level, a world that works for all nationalities, a world that works for all races, a world that works for all sexual orientations, a world that works for all religions, a world that works for all philosophical positions, and a world that works for all political parties. I believe that's true. I believe that's true. So our October theme is this: global transformation through personal transformation. So what this means is that as each one of these little people, this is all of us, each little people, heals any sense of separation and heals the sense of fear and competition and us and them, that each one that moves into that awareness and then just lives it helps heal the entire world. So I think about this. I mean, I have repeated this every Sunday of 2016. This much I have repeated every single Sunday. Thank you for listening to me. I try to say it differently every week. But this week I thought, what is my growing edge for personal transformation? And I'm very clear. I believe in oneness and inclusivity, and I find it very challenging to include people who believe in separation. But if I am going to be a healing presence in the world, I need to include that. I need to include my love and acceptance and appreciation and wrap my arms around everybody that believes in us and them. So It's the same thing, you know, I believe in forgiveness, and I'm very easy to forgive everybody, but it's really hard for me to forgive people who aren't going to forgive, you know, that kind of thing. So what I can do, however, is imagine them as little children and who don't yet know the benefits of forgiveness and inclusion and oneness. And if I can do that, I am approaching holding my arms open to embrace them. And I'm clear that my condemnation, my judgment inhibits global transformation. I am, you know, if I were in retail sales, if I were in, you know, farm equipment, if I were in some other job than this one, I wouldn't have to look at this every single week or every single day as my lessons are right here. But thank God for me, I am a spiritual leader because I have to lead myself first. So, here's the title. What if we knew all was God? Because this is the key to inclusion, is to know that every single thing, every single one is God. And knowing that God is in and through everything, just like the song said, and knowing that within the source, inclusion is so natural. There's another one of mine, there's another one of mine, there's another one of mine. So this is, God is all there is the first step in all of the spiritual mind treatment positive prayers that we speak. That Posey went there when she did our opening prayer, that God is all there is. And so what I hope for all of us today, because, you know, on the minister's listserv, there's talk about how wrought our people are with everything that's going on in the world and how can we serve them. And so for me and for all of us, today is about having a deep sense of joy and safety and less worry, because that's what I want for all of us. And as we do that, we are taking a step towards personal transformation. So as happens in every Sunday, the Home Office sends us out a quote, or more than one quote, and I pick one. So it's not up there yet, and I don't want it up there yet because it's a very dense quote from Ernest Holmes, our founder. And it's one of those, and this is from the Beverly Hills Lectures book, which means he spoke this. He didn't write this down. He spoke this. So I'm going to speak it before I let you see it, because for me, it is so kind of hard to understand that it has to be a transmission. But then the whole rest of the talk is about understanding it, so we'll have something for everyone, including me. So listen to this. The universe is self-existent, self-energizing, self-propelling, self-knowing, and self-acting. And everything that is takes place within the one infinite self, which is undivided and indivisible, but which, out of its own unity, creates this vast multiplication of itself in this great variation of life. You like that? I do too. So here it is. We can read it again. In fact, why don't we all read this together? The universe is self-existent, self-energizing, self-propelling, self-knowing, and self-acting. And everything that is takes place within the one infinite self, which is undivided and indivisible, but which, out of its own unity, creates this vast multiplication of itself, this great variation of life. You know, you just have to take a deep breath and shake your head and know that basically that is our philosophy, that all is one and out of the one come many. So let's go back to the title and unpack this, all right? So the title of the talk is, What If We Knew All Was God? And so I'm going to talk about two words in this title, because it's important for us to have a deeper understanding of two words. And the first word is God. Now, I think many of us came from different spiritual traditions, and so we might have the idea of God that, God is a bearded man, in the sky. And in our teaching, God being all that is first of all beneficial. That this allness that exists is good for us. It is supportive. It is loving. Out of everything that is created, the Creator supports its creation. This is how Meg Wheatley says this. Margaret Wheatley is a biologist, but also a kind of a social scientist. And in this book called A Simpler Way, she writes, now am I on the right page here? No. Okay, here we go. Everything participates in the creation and evolution of its neighbors. There are no unaffected outsiders. No one system dictates conditions to another. All participate together in creating the conditions of their interdependence. That means that all helps the all, or all helps the each. That we are all together, which is the next word about God that I want to talk about, and that is connected. Every single wisdom tradition has an analogy that is about how everything is connected. Indra's net in Hinduism is that everything is connected on this great net, and there's a jewel on each cross of the net, cross of the threads, and each jewel reflects every other jewel. And actually in science, string theory is the same way. It's like everything is connected, and a butterfly flaps its wings in South America, and we get a change of the weather in North America. So I wanted to read something from the Native American tradition. This is so sweet. This is from Black Elk. The first piece, which is the most important, is that which comes within the souls of people when they realize their relationship, their oneness with the universe and all its powers. And when they realize at the center of the universe dwells the Great Spirit, and that its center is really everywhere. It is within each of us. So everybody says the same thing, that in that mystical center of each philosophy, that we are all connected. And then what I want you to know about God is that this pattern that connects is eternal, that we are immortal because God is eternal, and that we are life and living God's life. And right through this doorway called death, we will go happy and healthy into the next expression. And so that life that is God being eternal is eternal in us. And so these qualities, there are more, of course, of the Infinite One, our source. But today I want us to really think about and feel that God, the Eternal One, is beneficial, connected, and everywhere in and through all time. Okay? Can we go there? Good. Now the next word I want to talk about in this title is all. Because when we come to all, we have to think of each. And when we think of each, we are now out of the realm of the absolute and into individual things. And we've just said that God, the good, is everywhere and in and through all things. And when we think about the things in our life, we naturally go to, well, some are good and some are bad. And I like some and I don't like some. And so how can all that I see out there be good? How can I reconcile God the good in the absolute and God the good in every single detail of my life? And it's challenging, but we're going to move through this and see if we can do it. So, am I, up with everything? All right, the first thing I want us to talk about in the all is thought. So, the teaching is that there is one mind, that mind is God's mind, and that mind is my mind now. And my ability to think actually comes from the infinite presence. And that God in some way must think, not as my mind thinks, but in the infinite eternal realm. And even Albert Einstein, who was very, very religious and dedicated to his idea of what spirit is, wrote this: I want to know God's thoughts. The rest are details. And so we think lofty and base thoughts. We think scary and joyful thoughts. We have a choice. And the more we work at knowing the thoughts of God, the more our own mind does not sabotage us with scary thoughts or base thoughts. It naturally flows to seeking the good. And it's something that we really work at. I work at it. I see stuff I don't like, and I tell myself over and over again, because I know I'm going to share this with you, how can I tell them to look for the good if I don't? And so that's what I do in my thinking. Where is the good here? And if that is the filter through which I think, I'm thinking good, I'm looking for the good here, I can find it. And as I do this more and more and more, it becomes easier. Next, the all means our feelings. All that I feel is God. That's what the song said. So our emotions and that eternal weather must come from this pattern that is holy. And feelings can be happy, sad, good, mad, all of those things. And if we feel our emotions in our physical body, it's part of the physicalness. We have that in the pit of our stomach, or we can't breathe too well, or something aches when we think of a certain something. And that too, the more we say, this is a feeling and I can move through it and get to that felt sense of peace, I can conjure peace for myself. I can conjure joy for myself, because really that is the only place that it comes from. It's the only, we think that joy happens on the outside of us, but it's that joy is already within us, and something reminds us of joy on the outside. And so we feel that joy on the inside. Okay, with me? All right, the next is form. Part of the all is all the stuff that is in our life. All that, Thomas Troward, who is one of the inspiring writers of Ernest Holmes, our founder, said that form is just spirit slowed down. And so if you think about the rate at which something vibrates, you know that thought is light, and we can have lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of thoughts, but we can only interact with so many things, because out this world of form, things are slowed down. But that also reminds us that we are spirit in form. That what the truth about us is spirit, and we have clothed ourselves in a body so we can have all of this interesting stuff that we create on this realm. Which brings me to the next one, which I love, which is activity. All the activity in our life is God. And so absolutely we can say some of the activity that I see is beneficial and some is damaging, and how is it that all paths lead to God? Well, I have a wonderful extended analogy. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but it's in this book by Joan Boroshenko called Fire in the Soul. And it's a parable that is called Safe Passage Home. And I'm going to read a little bit about it. And so what it says is that God started out in the absolute. God was all there is, and God was kind of looking around going, Then one day, for reasons that no one remembers, in fact, if anyone ever knew, the one became restless. In this way, some say it decided to play a cosmic game of hide and seek, splitting its light into tiny sparks, each with the full potential of the whole. In this way, the one could know itself and grow itself. So then, each spark clothed itself in flesh and was going to play this game. And the challenge of the game was for all parts of the whole to discover their way back home again, having lived all the stories and sung all the songs that would make them wise and compassionate co-creators and companions to the one. So it goes on, and surely we did. live all the stories and sang all the songs, and we're still singing them. And this is another stanza in this. Some of these stories led closer to home. These were the ones in which fear was conquered by love. Some of these stories led down blind alleys. These were the ones in which love was hidden by fear. The plays were long and the distractions many. And so it says that as the stories were lived, even though all of us are sparks of the one, and in its infinite wisdom, God is living all of our stories because we are so darn fascinating, that we, in this plane, forgot that it was a story, forgot that we essentially never left home, and by our thinking, we can get right back there. And in fact, we were out here living the stories and singing the songs so long that we forgot any connection to how it all started. Then, and their cries for help were heard by their brothers and sisters throughout the universe. Seen and unseen helpers came whenever they were drawn by the intent and the powerful pull of will of any soul who appealed to the source with a true longing for reunion. And so it concludes with us all getting back home. But what strikes me is that these helpers, we can see are angels or guides or wise avatars, and they're us. As each one of us transforms and lets go of the story of separation, we become the helpers. So all of these activities, and there's more in the news today, are our cues to know the truth, because God is all of our experience. And how we judge or don't judge and reflect on what is happening in us and around us, what we reflect on what is happening, we are walking towards the experience of home or forgetting the experience of home. And so finally, each one of us is made of God's stuff, and only God's stuff. God is all that I am. So, I have about 5 more minutes of talk, and I wanted to open this up, and I have maybe, depending on what happens, 1 or 2 people that can ask me, what about this? Because what I want is for anybody who's having a hard time saying, this in my life, it's not God. Anybody have one of those? Julie, what?
Someone who feels entitled to my full attention in their problems that I did not create. And lays a guilt trip on me, which I don't accept, for abandoning them, not fulfilling their needs.
Okay. Okay, so Julie said someone who lays a guilt trip on her for not fulfilling their every need when Julie doesn't think she had anything to do with what their pain is. Well, okay, so first of all, darling, you're connected to that person, and so there is something that, and it's not, you didn't cause them to feel anything, but something that happened pricked a hurt in them, and you were standing in front of them at the time, and so they associate you with the hurt. So you did something. You're connected with them, and blessed be, because you are a part of their learning. You don't actually know everything that they need to learn in their life, because we don't know. We can't live in somebody else, and that was what last week's talk was about, when we think that we're teachers and we're elbowing our partner and saying, listen to this. That may or may not be what's up for them. Now, the other thing is, because you brought this up and because I can see the hurt in your face, there is a part of you that has accepted the hurt. And you don't have to.
I don't want to.
No. Someone else's lesson that is part of your lesson, but your lesson is not to take on the guilt that wants, see, this other person wants to feel better. And so if they can get rid of this feeling that hurts by putting it on you, they have a temporary Band-Aid and feel like, oh, well, for a minute that felt better, until someone else pricks that hurt for them. So what you can do is just say, bless them, bless them, bless them, and here, this peace that you have given me, my precious darling, I am giving back to you because only you can heal it. And then God is revealed in that whole interaction. Let's all take a big, deep breath. And I'm going to say, because I want to conclude my talk, if any of this pricked something in you, you just take yourself right over to one of this full table of practitioners today and say, this is what doesn't feel like God to me. And they will know what to do with that for you, okay? All right, yay. So here's the wonderful things that we need to know for sure. Anything we judge as bad can lead us to good. So I'm telling you that every single time I knew that I needed to forgive, why did I know I needed to forgive? Because something felt really awful. Something felt bad in me, just like in this story from Julie. Something felt bad in me, so I needed to practice forgiveness. And so the thing that felt bad is really the gift for me to heal the sense of separation through forgiveness. And the same is true of acceptance and compassion and the lessons of connection. So this now, anything that is difficult inspires us to grow and evolve. Some of the lessons that we have in life are so big that we feel persecuted by them. But the bigger the lesson, the bigger the blessing. When we have grown into the hero that accepts that path. And I believe that it is our very soul that sets us on that path. That nobody has done it to us. We have said in some realm, some eternal realm, okay, I'm going to come in and learn this one. And then bingo, it's presented to you. But as you say, where is God in this? Then the path is revealed. I love this one. I love the photo. Anything that seems different or separate from us opens us to compassion and growth. It seems like differences are magnified this time in this country right now. And that means that we, as the way showers, our energy that moves towards oneness is more important than anything. And by golly, if Jews and Palestinians can do this, Democrats and Republicans can too. So just go and kiss somebody that's not in your political persuasion. And finally, often seeing good everywhere requires deep searching. And this is what it's all about. It's about seeing God in everything because God is all there is. And the deeper we look, the greater the revelation and the transformation. And the only thing that stands in our way of doing this is laziness. That is the only thing. It's effortful to love somebody that we don't want to love. It's effortful to forgive when we want to judge. It's effortful to see the similarities instead of the differences. And so declaring that we are not going to be lazy spiritual seekers, but that we are going to say, bring on the lessons because I want transformation. So in closing, I want to read to you something that was said by Akhenaten. Now, Akhenaten was the pharaoh of Egypt in the 14th century of the older era, before the Common Era, BC. Akhenaten was the first of the pharaohs that believed in one God. There was a whole pantheon of gods actually before him and after him. So you can imagine what the philosophical upheaval was during and after Akhenaten. But Akhenaten was the forerunner of what we have come to believe, that everything is connected and all is one. And this is what he said. He created all things, the far-off heavens, mankind, the animals, the birds. Our eyes are strengthened by his beams, and when he shows himself, all flowers grow and live. At his rising, the pastures bring forth. They are intoxicated before his face. All the cattle skip on their feet, and the birds in the marshes flutter with joy. So, the spiritual principle that we have been speaking about today is God is all there is, period. And your job, there's only one spiritual principle today, that's it, period. Are we there? There we are. God is all there is, period. That's it. Well, I was looking at the pool there. And then our spiritual practice is this: look for the good everywhere. That no laziness, riveted on good. And now, my loves, let us turn within. And so it is that we have prayerfully accomplished feeling less worried, more joyful, and more peaceful. And if there is anything left to mutter or worry about, just in this moment, bring it forth into this space that is so full of God. Bring it forth into this space. And just as those letters on the PowerPoint emerge from those little pixelated dots, let your concern turn to pixelated dots and disappear. And in its place is God the beneficial, God the connected, God the eternal. And knowing all is well, we let it be. And so it is. Amen.